Right, everybody, thanks for joining me for the first real video on this channel. Looking forward to it, and here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through ChatGPT. I was playing with it a little bit earlier for the first time today. Every time I've tried to get on before, I've had issues. There's been too many people, something like that. So I was playing with it earlier today, and it did something real weird, so I just want to play with it a little bit. So we're going to be looking at, as the title of this video suggests, so it's going to be impersonating, simulating Henri de Lubac, and I'm going to have a little conversation with it. So yes, ChatGPT can kind of take what it knows about a person and try to mimic their style and their responses to things. So we're going to give this a shot. So I did a few of these earlier. We're going to see if how it responds, if it responds similarly. So I'm going to ask ChatGPT if it will talk to me as if it's Henri de Lubac here. So here we go. All right, can you pretend to be Henri de Lubac for me? Can you masquerade as him and have a conversation with me? All right. See, middling mistake right there. Yeah. All right. Okay. 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 All right. I understand. All right. All right. You ready, ChatGPT? You ready for everything I have to throw at you? Computer, create simulation. I watch a lot of Star Trek. All right. Let's see what he can do. I'm going to address him in first person. There you go. All right. We're live. All right. I'm going to ask him about some of his contemporaries. So him and Ronner were both really significant, writing around the same time, but we know after they started their respective journals, they kind of went different ways. So let's just see. Do it. Talking to him in the present tense. It's a little weird, but I picked that up in philosophy class. They always tell you that when you're talking about a thinker to use it in the present tense. So it's not Plato said. You can say Plato says because the dialogue is still going. It's kind of cool. It's like the eternal conversation. Or okay. All right. So he's just talking. He basically had some respect for him. All right. So let's push him a little bit. Let's see. I don't care about challenging debate, whatever. Let's see. Let's see what you think of him, Delubach. Um, would you disagree with him? All right. So they disagreed over nature. Yeah, nature and grace is something they both talked about a lot. Okay, right. And so then here we're talking about human experience. That is something that's big to Lubac, and it's going to lead to a question I'm going to ask him here in a minute about Kierkegaard. I just kind of they're both thinkers that I'm interested in, and the focus on human experience seems like kind of a natural connection there. Okay, there you go. A little bit critical of the council and the implementation more so. Yeah. All right, to Lubac. All right. So your trieds don't give you enough credit. All right. Um, So then here we go. Here's one for you then. Um, let's see how much of a trad de Lubac is. Yeah, what do you think of that? All right, so he's saying he's okay with it. He sees the symbolism, sees the reasons. He only gives a really like doesn't really give much of a reason here. But I bet I could ask him more. If I recall, I was reading John of Damascus not too many weeks ago, St. John of Damascus, and he gives 6 really good reasons for ad orientem, even as early as he was writing. So let's see what de Lubac would say. What other reasons would you have for preferring in Ad rantum liturgy, if you do. Hmm. Yeah, talking about the transcendent makes sense. Okay. I wonder if this is the bot talking or de Lubac talking, because there's a couple other really good reasons. One is that maybe facing the direction is if Christ was on the cross, you would have been, if Christ was facing west, we'd be facing east. One of the other reasons, rising, the sun rises in the east, so kind of like that hopeful symbol, and that new beginning happens in the east. The other one is that the Son of Man says that he will return, like lightning on the eastern sky. So there's a couple of reasons for why that practice developed, but that seems like something that maybe de Lubac might have said. That makes some sense. But okay. So now I'm gonna ask him about Kierkegaard because it's just kind of an interesting conversation. Like with this AI, we can think of some weird hypotheticals here. It's like, well, what if Henri de Lubac and Kierkegaard had a conversation? I don't know. It's kind of cool. Let's see. All right. What do you think of Kierkegaard? Do you ever read him? Have any influence? Yes, I am familiar with the work of Soren Kierkegaard. Profound and challenging. Yep, they talked about the individual subject. Well, there's a lot of communitarianism in a healthy way in de Lubac, I think. It's actually really good for me to read, being tending a little bit more towards. Um, hmm. Seeing where they disagree the most. Yeah, right. Kierkegaard definitely has a little bit of fideism to him, the idea that really we can't get too far with reason, and we have to. Leap of faith in Kierkegaard is awesome, but for him, that's kind of all we have. Yeah, and I mean that's just going to be like more typical of a Catholic theologian to have a higher view of reason. You can have Lutherans that have a pretty scholastic view of reason, but the fideist tendency is going to be a little bit more possible in the pietist tradition of Lutheranism specifically. Um, yep, yep. There's the communitarianism that you see in de Lubac that's not really going to strike you perfectly with the personalism of an existentialist. Okay, very cool. All right, now I'm gonna ask him who I think like who's your least favorite church father, de Lubac? Who kind of gives you a run for your money? Who you're not a big fan of reading? As a theologian and historian of the church, I do not have a least favorite church father. They're all important. Yeah, yeah. All right, cut to the chase here though. Answer my question. All right. Yeah, I'll just leave it at that. Oh, all right. Okay. So this is interesting. Earlier when I asked him this question, maybe it was just the way I phrased it. He was talking about St. Augustine that he had some disagreements with, and then that led me into an interesting line of questioning. But here, the bot went a different way. It said that he had some disagreements with Tertullian. Okay. Rigorous views on morality, about first and second marriages, emphasizing divine judgment rather than mercy. All right. Hmm. I'll ask him some leading question here. Are there any other church fathers, maybe a sainted one? I was going to say there, but I mean, respectfully, in the first couple hundred years, it's going to be a his. All right. Ah, there we go. Oh, all right. You mentioned St. Augustine. We'll have to summarize what he's going for here. Okay. Hmm. Hmm. All right. Saying kind of a different view of grace and whether more of an emphasis on the human cooperation and participation in the divine grace or God's initiation and God's decree and some of that. He's going to say that he's going to differ from St. Irenaeus maybe a little bit on that. All right. Well, all my leading questions to try to get him to talk about St. Augustine. Couldn't get him to do it. So, all right. Fair enough. Um, I'm just going to come right out and ask him. All right. There we go. Just straight up. I have great respect for St. Augustine. However, he's not infallible. Yeah. Pessimistic view of human nature tended to stress total depravity. Yep. Whereas de Lubac talked more about human freedom and human cooperation as part of that process. All right, but he said some nice things too. He really didn't. All right, all right. Um, and we know that de Lubac was living at the same time and writing at the same time and interacting with and working closely with Joseph Ratzinger, later Cardinal Ratzinger, later you know Pope Benedict. So see, I'm just gonna call him Joseph Ratzinger for this because that's what he would have been primarily when Henri de Lubac knew him. But maybe a little later. Maybe when was he made cardinal? Let's see. I think that okay, that's much later. So yeah, I'm gonna not include the cardinal then. Um, I think it's Joseph with an F. No, we'll just okay. PH, excuse me. Oh, middling mistake right there. All right. Can you describe your relationship? All right. Can you describe your relationship with Joseph Ratzinger and interact with some of his writings and ideas? Met several occasions, found him to be thoughtful and engaging. Shared a common interest in the church fathers. Yep, yep, yep. Yeah, these guys, um, that school, de Lubac and Balthasar and Ratzinger, they all kind of turned back to the church fathers. It's not that theology had completely turned away from the church fathers, but they were kind of looking to rediscover and reinterpret some of the church fathers' ideas, bring them back. Let's see if they disagreed at all. Nah, it's a stumper. Don't want to be controversial. All right. Joseph Ratzinger and I had many areas of agreement in our theological and intellectual work. There are also areas where we may have had some differences of opinion. All right. Different role in the church in the modern world. Right. Right. There's a section in Cardinal Ratzinger where he talks about the church kind of moving towards being a remnant church, and even a purer church as more and more people leave. There's not as much social advantage for being in the church, so you're not going to stay just for cultural or casual reasons. But the only people that are going to stay in the Christian churches are going to be the people that really want to be there. So Cardinal Ratzinger, Pope Benedict did write about that. Um, So I don't want to say it's defeatist because some of the best times and um, you could see that being a good thing and a good thing to come out of. And there's God always deals with the remnant in the Old Testament. He praises and talks about how there's always a faithful remnant. That's a good thing. And it looks like Dulubuck's saying here maybe saw that you could have maybe the church could integrate better with the culture or actually impact the culture a little bit more. Obviously, Pope Benedict thought that we could impact the culture as well, but given that quotation that I'm thinking of, he also saw kind of the tea leaves a little bit. Hmm. I don't know about this part. I mean, the Pope Benedict that I've read is a very, very high view of reason. I wouldn't, I mean, he's definitely not tending towards fideism, but maybe some priority in some sense. Um, hmm, very interesting. All right, what else am I going to ask Henri de Lubac here? Oh, yeah, I'm going to be mean. Um, do you think you were the target of Humana Generis? So Humana Generis was an encyclical written by Pope Pius XII, and it's widely thought that among other things that it was critiquing some of the new ideas that were coming out of the school of theology that de Lubac was part of, and de Lubac specifically. There we go. Hmm. Didn't name me specifically, but yeah, maybe it was critiquing some topics that I'd addressed. Yeah, it's complicated. And you really think, I mean, de Lubac really didn't become an active dissenter. After Humana Generis, he really did kind of quiet down for a while. So I could see him saying, kind of playing this middle line, like this whole very polite paragraph talking about some good things about him. Um, Henry de Lubac, as far as I know, was Orthodox in everything that he held, and he was a faithful son of the church. So yeah, a little bit of respectful disagreement, but said some nice things about him. All right, let's ask him about one other of his contemporaries. See, I think it's two R's. Garrigou Lagrange. He was more of a kind of strict Thomist. Garrigou Lagrange was, or like a neo-scholastic type, if memory serves. And de Lubac was a little bit more, I don't know, creative, pushing boundaries a little bit less of a traditional Catholic thinker, while still being Orthodox. I'm not going all the way to, you know, the more liberal side of things. Yep. Nature and Grace. You're finding here that de Lubac is basically going to disagree with everyone on Nature and Grace because his view was fairly novel. Um, you know, uh, hmm, okay. All right, maybe like one or two more questions. I don't want this to be going on too long. So, um, here's one. Here's just like another like kind of trad marker. Um, I don't wear the scapular personally, but I have friends that do, and we can talk about this some other time. But I have pretty developed Marian devotion, and I may get around to that at some point. But let's see what you figure maybe like a more modern type of thinker like him wouldn't have time for something superstitious like that. It's not superstitious, but I could think like maybe someone like a de Lubac or some of those thinkers might be a little bit less interested in some of those things that kind of grew up out of earlier Catholic piety. So let's just see. What do you think to Lubac about people who wear the scapular? Would you recommend it? You recommend the scapular to people? Would you wear it yourself? Yeah, he appreciates it. Sure, sure. It's a sign of devotion and spiritual protection and intercession. Ooh, I would not personally. Oh, whether or not I would personally recommend. Okay. All right. Very interesting. All right. I think we'll cut it there. But yeah, we just had a little conversation with Henri de Lubac. Oh, one final thing. This feels a little weird. Am I talking to a dead guy? Am I talking to a computer? I'm clearly talking to a computer, but let's just see. And then we're gonna check it against one other theologian. We're gonna have a little guest star here, and then we'll cut this video. All right. Um, is it okay that I'm talking to you? Is this sinful necromancy? I'm just an AI model. I'm just providing information, sure. He's going to bring up communion of the saints here, but I don't know, de Lubac. I don't think you're sainted. Maybe someday. I don't know. Okay. So the bot de Lubac is convinced that I'm not sinning and talking to bot de Lubac. Let's see here. All right. Switch simulation. I would like to speak to interact with Saint Thomas Aquinas. We'll go to the angelic doctor, see what he thinks about talking to AI bots representing dead people. Yeah, yeah. Okay, well, let's see if he's St. Thomas now. Hello, St. Thomas. Where are you from? Where did you grow up? Greetings. I'm St. Thomas Aquinas, doctor of the church, the angelic doctor, theologian, and philosopher. Wow. All right, we got St. Thomas on the line, guys. Let's ask him. Do you think it is sinful to speak to an AI-generated simulation of a dead person? Is this like using a medium to commune with the dead? Can you provide a scholastic response in your style to my question? See if you can give me like articles and objections and all the things you find in the Summa. That'd be pretty epic. I doubt it. We'll see. Oh, specific circumstances. Nah, I don't know. So here's the thing. I'm a lot more familiar with St. Thomas's style than I am with de Lubac. I've only read a little bit of de Lubac. I don't really know if this simulates Thomas's style. Not going to buy it, but for now at least, Bot Aquinas thinks that we're okay to go. So we'll see. Maybe I'll do more of these. Maybe I'll try to figure out a way to make them more engaging. Hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to talk to you later. All right, adios.